Hello everybody, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. If you are not aware of who I am, which you're probably not because I've not made a video in a very long time, but like I said, my name is Chelsea. I'm an artist. I do a lot of photography. That's my main route, but I also do a lot of fiber arts, which is actually something that I have been growing to love in the past few years. I went to school for photography, so that's more of like my career route, but fiber arts has kind of become my passion, honestly. Like, it is my favorite thing to do. So this year I got really into it. I guess I learned how to do it last year, like how to knit. I learned how to crochet a while before that, but knitting has become like literally my favorite thing ever. And this year I knit my first sweater, and I've been knitting sweaters and garments ever since. So I thought that we would do a little project roundup. We're a little bit over halfway through the year, so I thought that I would kind of show everything that I've made and kind of explain what I've learned through the process of each project. I also, like I said, I crocheted a little bit, so I have those, and then I'm also currently in the process of learning how to sew, so I have a project from that too that I thought I would go over. So just kind of kick back and relax, get yourself a cup of tea, I have one brewing, and enjoy the video. Okay, so the first project that we're going to talk about is what I'm wearing. This is actually my second ever sweater, but it's the first one that I actually wear. And I started this one at the end of last year, but I'm including it because I finished it this year. I guess I finished it at the beginning of January because I started it and then I took a break so that I could work on all of my Christmas presents, and then as soon as I finished with all my Christmas stuff, I went back and I finished it. But I love this sweater so much. It's the Olga sweater, and I love the colors that I chose. I love the stripes. Like I said, it's like, I count this as my first sweater because my like first one was just terrible. I don't know what happened with that one, but this was a completely different experience, and this one was so much better. I will say it doesn't necessarily look like the pattern, like the pictures. I have my computer right here, so I can kind of give better, I can be more thorough, but I think mine is a lot baggier. My sleeves are much shorter because this part was larger, and then my collar. That was one thing that I learned with this sweater, was that I don't necessarily know how to do collars. This one is a lot larger than like your typical crew fit, which is what the Olga sweater is. But even with this one being so different from the pattern that I followed, I love it, and I honestly wouldn't change it. I wear this all the time, and I kind of like I've grown to like the bigger neck and the baggier fit. Like, I wear this all the time. I did not use the recommended yarn, which is probably has a lot to do with why it turned out so different, which I didn't know at the time. Like I said, this is my second ever sweater. But I have my gauge swatch here with the tag, so I can tell you what it is. I just got this at like my local yarn store. It is the Ella Ray Eco Tweed. It's a merino tweed blend, and then I used the colors Carnelian and Iris. And this is honestly, like, whenever you feel it, it doesn't feel that soft. Like, whenever I felt it in the store, it didn't necessarily feel super soft, but it's definitely a durable, like, it makes a very durable fabric, and that was kind of what I wanted. But I was worried that it wouldn't be very comfortable to wear, but I actually think this one is more comfortable than some of the ones that I'll show you later that are made with like a softer yarn. I don't know why that is. I think it's just more comfortable on my skin. I know a lot of people's skin is very it feels natural fibers differently, I guess is the way to put that. And I honestly really like this, and I would totally make something out of a yarn like this later. So this is my first project. Okay, so for my second sweater or garment, my second thing made, this was pretty ambitious, but I self-drafted a sweater, and self-drafted is kind of, I don't know if that's the right word to put. It's just it was a very simple raglan, but this is what it looks like. I didn't follow a pattern because I took a trip to Black Mountain and I got this like beautiful hand spun, hand dyed yarn that I wanted to turn into a sweater. But obviously, like, I wasn't making the whole sweater out of it, and I had this vision, but I could not find a pattern that was like, I was really struggling to find any patterns that use like hand spun yarn like this, much less a sweater pattern. So I was like, I'm just gonna have to make it up as I go. So what I did was I got a pattern that was for like the bulky weight yarn of the hand spun, and I kind of followed it. You can see where I did not do a collar at all. It's very wide neck, so it can kind of be off the shoulder. I wanted it to be like as simple to make as possible. And then I used Drops Air for the rest of the body, and that's a different weight yarn. So I honestly don't remember, but I think I just like doubled for each single stitch. I picked up 2 with the Drops Air, and then I just finished it. And I really like this. It's super cute on. I don't wear it all the time because, of course, this is kind of itchy. I have to wear something under it, and it's also like it's more of like a nicer looking sweater than, say like this. I like to lounge around in it. I'm not going to lounge around in this, but I will wear this. Like, I wore it to work a lot in the winter. And honestly, I just love this, and I love that I used yarn from a trip that I went on. I think that like, it's kind of like a little souvenir from my trip to Black Mountain, which I love. And then one thing about this sweater that I love is that, like I said, I didn't follow a pattern specifically. I was able to make adjustments to create what I was wanting. And so it kind of gave me a lot of confidence that I could, I have like a vision in mind, and even if I can't find a pattern, that I could execute that into a real garment, and that was really exciting. So, love this one. This next sweater I am so proud of. I had this one picture, which I will show you, saved on my Pinterest board for forever, and it kept popping up, and I loved it. I loved the color, I loved the cables, I loved everything about it, and I just wanted it for myself. And so I knew that I had to make it, and I did. So this is the Alma sweater. I literally love it so much. I have not gotten a whole lot of use out of this, honestly, because I finished it right whenever the weather got warm, but I'm so excited to be wearing this again once it cools off. I also have worn it around my apartment quite a bit to keep warm, but literally I love this sweater so much. For this sweater, I used Drops Air again, except this time I held it with the Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. And I really liked the combination. I liked how it, like, the variation in color that it gave me. The one thing that I will say I noticed is, like, through doing this sweater, I realized that I have a very loose gauge, and so I need to start adjusting for that. I would really like to redo this pattern with a tighter gauge, because I can definitely tell, like, that's the difference between mine and the pattern. However, I still love this sweater so much. This is also my first time ever doing cables, and so there was a lot of mistakes made, a lot of going back, but I think that this was like the perfect pattern to learn cables on, because it was pretty straightforward. Once I got like the back panel done, then I got the pattern down and I was able to just kind of go for it, which was really nice. I definitely want to do more cables this winter for sure, because I had a lot of fun doing this, and I love this sweater. For this one, the arms are a little bit long, but my inspo was pretty oversized, so I'm pretty glad with the way that it fits. But once again, my collar is, I just need to figure out how to do a collar, because I don't know. So somebody please, like, give me tips on how to do a collar, because I genuinely can't figure them out. Like, mine never look like how they're supposed to. So I'm not sure what is up with that. Okay, so the next garment that I made is the lace jacket, which right here. I love this jacket like so much. I started this was a summer knit for me, which is kind of weird because it is a really warm sweater, jacket, cardigan. It's really warm, cozy, but I've been wearing it a lot. But the reason that I decided to make this was because I went on a trip to Washington where I was camping, I was hiking, I was outside a lot, and I was like, I need a nice hand knit sweater that's going to keep me really warm. And so I was like, I'm going to make something specifically for my trip, and that's what this ended up being. I will say I finished it like the night before I left, but I love it. I also I learned a lot through this. The main thing that I learned is that I don't know how to do button bands. But so they're like, that's the only thing that like bothers me about this sweater, which is I mentioned before that there's another garment that I was going to try and block a little bit more. It's the button bands on these. However, I don't have any confidence that they will fix themselves at all. But I will say I prefer this unbuttoned, and unbuttoned you can't even tell. But they're just like really tight, and so it like cinches the whole thing in instead of like keeping the baggy look. And I also learned that button bands take ages. I thought, like, I went into making the button bands thinking that it would be like super quick because it was just like, you know, compared to the whole thing, I was like this tiny piece. I thought that it would be super fast, but it took me all day, which I did not expect. And then I put on these like beautiful buttons that I actually got at an antique store. And then I was not prepared for how long it took the button bands to knit up, and I also was not prepared to sew in the buttons. I didn't have the right needles. I thought that just like a darting needle would work, but it wouldn't fit through my buttons. So originally, before I went on my trip, I had a different buttons that I got at just like at Hobby Lobby, and my needle wouldn't go through there, so I literally just used sewing needle and sewing thread, and on my trip they all fell off. which was fine because, like I said, I enjoyed it unbuttoned more than I liked it buttoned anyways, so like I didn't care, and I didn't like the buttons, so that didn't bother me. But once I had more time and I got back from my trip, I got what I needed and buttons that I liked, and I finished it, but I still prefer it unbuttoned. But this one, it fits me perfect, and it is so warm. I took what I learned about my gauge from the Alma sweater, and I downsized my needles because I knew that I wanted this to be warm, and so I knew that I needed to make sure that my fabric was nice and dense. So I downsized my needles, and honestly, maybe that's where I went wrong with my button bands. Maybe I should have gone up a needle size instead of down a needle size for the button bands. Maybe that's what I'll do next time. But overall, I love this sweater so much, and like I said, I've already gotten so much use out of it. I wore it my entire trip. I literally slept in it last night. Like, it's so comfortable and it keeps me so warm. So for this, I used Drops Nepal. So I think I might prefer this to Drops Air, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to, I still am not exactly sure. I do like the Drops brand though, because it's nice. Fiber for a pretty cheap price compared to like whenever I go to my local yarn store. But it does take forever to ship to me, which is unfortunate. But love this sweater so much. I did not enjoy the button bands, and I did not enjoy all of the purling, but it was fun. I still liked it a lot, and I will definitely do another cardigan. I just think that I'll do full sweaters more often. Okay, so next we're getting into my actual summer knits. So first is actually a crochet piece. I started this at the very beginning of the summer, and I've kind of been picking up on it just randomly throughout the summer. I've been working on other projects too. I actually just finished this one today, but I had a lot of this yarn left over from my Olga sweater. So I have been trying to figure out like what I wanted to do with it, and like I said before, it's a pretty tough fabric that it makes up, so I was like, that would make really good shorts. And then I was like, it would be really cute to have like a little set. So I crocheted myself some shorts to go with it, and I think that they're so cute. And together, like, I was a little worried that it would look a little weird to have the knit and the crochet, but I think that it looks great together, and this makes like the perfect little lounge set. I did not follow a pattern for the shorts. I just kind of looked up a tutorial on TikTok and followed that. Super easy, and a great way to use up some yarn. So I'll definitely be making more shorts. It was good to be, it was a good project to have to just kind of like pick up on whenever I didn't want to think about what I was going to do. So, and like, I just love that like I made myself a little matching set out of this. So, love that. Okay, so my next project, I bought a pattern, but I didn't end up actually following the pattern. I can't find it. Hold on. It's the Beijing bias top. I saw this picture on Pinterest, and I was like, this is so cute for the summer. So I got the exact color, and I made it for myself right here. You can see it like looks a little wonky because it kind of is, but if you see the pattern, it's kind of like that. Like one side goes down a little bit more. It's just, I don't know, it's not like necessarily an asymmetrical top, but it's doesn't look like it's made to be perfect, and it definitely isn't. So, but I still really like it, especially after I blocked it. But I love how, okay, like I said, I didn't necessarily follow the pattern. I followed it enough to figure out how it was made, but then I didn't like look at it again, if that makes sense. I just kind of followed it, realized that I was increasing and then decreasing. So I increased it until I was like, oh, I think that fits, and then I decreased it, and then I made the other side to match it, and then I just sewed it together, kind of similar to how it said, and I got a top. So definitely not a perfect shirt, but it is a great summer top. I wore it yesterday. I got complimented on it. Got to say thanks, I made it. My favorite thing. It's really cute. I love how it is made, like with the ribbon going diagonally. That's what really drew me to it. I do wish that my gauge was looser though, because the gauge on the picture is like very mesh. You can see through it totally, and you can see through this, just not as much. Enough to where I'm like I have to wear a bra under it, but not enough to where it's like I'm wearing a cute bralette so that you can see it, if that makes sense. But for this project, I used Drops Bell, and I love the color. I love the ribbon going diagonally, like I said. So it was really fun, easy to make, and I took this on my trip to Washington, so I didn't have, that was the reason I didn't follow the pattern. I didn't have service to like be on my phone a whole lot, and even if I had it, I should have printed it, but like even having it downloaded, it just like took forever to load, and I was like, I don't need to keep looking at this. So it was a really good project for me to just kind of sit and work on during that. So this next project is my last knit project for this video. It is made with yarn that I got on my trip in Washington. Okay, so these are all, I have the sweater I made for my trip to Washington, the shirt I made in Washington, and then what I made with the yarn I got in Washington. So 3 of these garments are related to Washington somehow, and I only spent a week there, but I liked Washington, if you can't tell. So if I go on vacation, I like to kind of go to a local yarn store, get some yarn there, and make myself my own little souvenir. So that's what I did with this. But I found this, like, I've been wanting to make, like, I don't know what the yarn is called, and I don't have the tag anymore, but I've been seeing a lot of yarns that have, it's like self-striping, but it's also more like variegated and ombre, more colors. I don't know, but this is what I've been wanting to use, that kind of yarn, and this is what I made with it. I'll be so honest, I was inspired by, I watched Vera Gracia's video where she did her, I'm gonna have to look it up. She just released it, or I would have used that pattern. But I made this a few weeks ago, which was before her pattern was out, and I didn't know when it was going to come out. But I was inspired by her very first, oh, her wildflower top. Her very first sample of it that she did, she used this like beautiful yarn that's kind of similar to this, but it's pink and purple, and I loved it. And so that made me want to use yarn that kind of was colorful in the same way. So whenever I was in Washington and I saw this yarn, I was like, ooh, I've been wanting that. So I got it. And like I said, her pattern wasn't out yet. So I just ended up getting the Kari tee. And it was it. I really liked the pattern. I will totally make another shirt like this again, and just a plain color, because I love it and it was a fun pattern to do. But here it is. I love this, honestly. Like, I love the colors. I love the yarn so much. I love the V-neck. I love this. I also worked on this while I was at the beach, which was kind of fun. So for my next project, it's a little bit different. It's not a wearable garment, but it is a crochet piece. One of my goals for this summer, I've had this entire summer off, which I have not had in a very long time. I don't remember, except for like since high school, I don't guess I've ever had like full summer off. But even then I had like sports and stuff. I literally don't have anything this summer until I'm getting my master's starting this fall, and I just finished up an internship at the end of May. So like I've had this whole summer to like literally do nothing. So my goal was to really like just focus on all of the things that I really enjoy. So I've been trying to like really get back in touch with my art. So I've been painting and drawing a lot, and one of my goals was to make my own art for my apartment because I renewed my lease. And so I was like, okay, I need to like really make it into a place that I love. And I think that having like my walls filled is something that makes me really enjoy a place. So I was like, I'm gonna make my own artwork. So I started to learn how to fillet crochet, and this was my first piece that I actually made. I just found like a really simple pattern and did it, and then I paired it with a picture, because a picture from Washington, because like I said, my main art form is photography. This is a film picture, but I don't know where I'm gonna put it yet, but I'm gonna hang it on the wall somewhere. And I have another filet crochet piece started that has a quote from an Ethel Cain song. I'm really excited for that one. But yeah, that was fun. Actually, like I'm enjoying the filet crochet. It took me a while to figure out, and like the tiny needle is really daunting, but it was easier to work with than I thought it would be. But it's very daunting to pick up a needle that size. Okay, and then the very last garment that I'm going to talk about is a sewed piece. It's my first. Okay, so like whenever I was young, I sewed a little bit, but I like never made anything. I would like start stuff and never finish it. I don't know what happened, because then I picked up this and I thought that it would end up being the same way, but I did it in like 2 days and I was so proud of myself. Like, it looks so good. I've worn it out multiple times. I love it. Let me find the pattern that I used. Okay, it's the Carrie tie-back cami sewing pattern. I got it on Etsy. But this is what it looks like. There's definitely mistakes, and ignore the wrinkles. And then it has like this open back that I tie with lace, and I just love it. I had the idea, like, this fabric, at first I thought pants, and then I was like, I don't really want to use pants, like, it's a really thin fabric, and I didn't necessarily know how to make it to where I just wanted this part to be at the bottom. I don't know. There was a lot going into why I didn't end up doing pants, but I just love the fabric and the design. I love the fit of it. Like, it needs the way that the armholes go. I just love it. So I was so proud of myself after making this, to be honest. It's like I said, I tried sewing before and just never got into it, but I have a lot more fabric that I've bought that I want to make stuff with. I have plans, so I think I'm gonna try and like make some videos, like bringing my Pinterest wardrobe to life. I don't really know, but sewing is something that I really want to get better at and learn how to do more, because I love to knit, but some garments just aren't meant to be knit. Like, I don't know. But I was really proud of this shirt, so